So we're back. Right, we're going to continue on. Hopefully the wind doesn't get in our way. So we got to chapter 19 today. Right, and I've got some video clips. About 8 or 9 of them that we can have a look at on the way through. So let's start with the video clip.
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
Epstein, in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it.
Whoa.
The island was an absolute cesspool. So,
the Clintons are friends
and he's
of
been
yours,
there
right?
for many
The
times.
Clintons are friends
Well,
of
I
yours.
can't say friends, but I know
You're
them.
friendly. You know them.
They play at my clubs a lot. I have clubs, and everybody likes to play
Are
at
you
my
saying
clubs.
there's a political problem for her if she runs for president?
It could be a political problem. Look, he could be a political problem. Right now, he's Teflon, and right now, maybe not. But he could end up being a political.
So that might carry on from yesterday's video, right? Let's have another look.
Possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe. I think he probably committed suicide. He had a life with, beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did, but there are those people. There are many people. I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
You think so?
I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all. I believe everything I hear. But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General, clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah, he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and a case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you, a case could be made either way.
So that carries on from yesterday's video, where we investigated a little bit of eugenics, a little bit of manipulation of the body, a little bit of prison control, a little bit of something we're about to talk about, I suppose. So we'll jump around today. I'm not sure if this will make sense as we go, but we're going to concentrate on chapter 19. The burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord, all caps, rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it, in the midst of it, middle, the center. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Seeding unrest, seeding this machine moneylender style to the point where all of your towns are no longer in your hands, administered. So we get to this point where what we'll see through this chapter is a triple layer of the same thing, Okay?
All our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know? And I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line, but I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends. You know, if anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, you know, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane.
So when we look at the money lender, occupier, manipulator, government, debt collection, we can see that it's everyone for himself. That's the way the occupier, administrator, banker holds you all by number. By number. In World War II it was a tattoo. And you saw in the last video that it's a MAC address. Are they the same thing? Are they exactly the same ideologies? Would that see a town against town, kingdom against kingdom, while they all scramble underneath this oppressive, and did they not escape from? So we look a bit further. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord. They're debtors. So when they can't finally pay their debts, they are given to something much crueler. It's the taking of everything that you have until you have nothing left, and then treating you in a specific way because you put yourselves in that position.
Bagved. Og er du klar, Thomas?
Ja.
Så siger jeg 1, 2, 3, nu! Ej, Thomas, tror du ikke, du skal passe på hænderne? Jeg tror bare, vi stopper. Thomas, der er gået 15 sekunder. Men det der regnvejr,
Jamen,
det duer ikke
jeg tog lige
rigtigt.
bjælken.
Ej, er det skidt med hånden?
Det er nok ikke så godt.
So these idols and charmers and familiar spirits and the wizards are those astronomers, astrologers trying to piece back together the foundations of a world at which they aren't able to do. So in this collapse, they fear being disappeared, imploded, not exploded, imploded to nothing, because their lack of foundation with the Lord rebuked them. Remember? There was something in this that proved at the very cornerstone what our society, country, constitution, law, judiciary, government, army, and so on, and your lack of sheriffs. And the Egyptians I will give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts, all caps. Lord, capital L, lowercase o-r-d, the Lord of hosts, all caps. So this greater Lord of hosts over the Lord, yes my Lord, A fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord. Because they owe. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up. Trade routes, your ability to interact with other nations because you're indebted to and now bankrupted out of. But as we discussed in the Constitution, it's an indissoluble, can't be dissolved at law. And they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defence shall be emptied and dried up, and the reeds and flags shall wither. And we've discussed that in previous videos, where the Australian Defence Force has been wokeified and has a lack of its ability to arm itself and is a dependent state. The paper reads, by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. Because you're now unable to feed financially or with your own fruits, your own society. Someone else has taken it from you, pulled it out from underneath your feet. Now they want to push you off it. The fishes also shall mourn, and all they that cast angle into the brooks shall lament, and they that spread nets upon the waters shall languish. Moreover, they that work in fine flax, and they that weave networks shall be confounded. They won't comprehend why all of this has just happened. This is something to do with this construction, creation. Because we talk about fishing for men. We talk about bows. We talk about this turning thing from summer to winter. Moreover, they that work in fine flax, and they that weave networks shall be confounded, and they shall be broken in the purposes thereof, and all that make sluices and ponds for fish. They shall be broken, severed, in the purposes thereof. Maybe their line of authority doesn't truly line up, and a true line of authority came to meet that false line of authority to say, who's the father? And that would be a clarification of a lineage or a line of authority from some founding forefathers, some foundation at law. Surely the princes of Zoan are fools. The counsel of the wise counselors of Pharaoh is become brutish. How say ye unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise, the son of ancient kings? How do you say that? Well, I know how I say it in the Spirit. How say ye unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise, the son of ancient kings? There must be some sort of understanding of what's already been spoken of in the first 18 chapters to get to this point, right? Where are they? Where are thy wise men? And let them tell thee now, and let them know what the Lord of hosts, all caps, hath purposed upon Egypt. Hath purposed. So this foundation gave purpose to a line of authority. What purpose on this country, Egypt, has this lineage got? The princes of Zoan are become fools. The princes of Noph are deceived. They have also seduced Egypt, even they that are the stay of the tribes thereof, even they that are in italics. So that's kind of an expression of interest here. Being deceived, become fools, but still able to manipulate an administration. The Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in the every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his own vomit. That calls for a video clip. Let's have another look at something.
The Sukarno family has control of Solomon's mines. Solomon's mines are on the island of Sulawesi. There is plenty of gold on the planet. It is not that the elite's going to be allowed to keep it, because they're not going to be here much longer. I can tell you that. Okay, they have their run, and it's done. Okay, I say that with 100% certainty that it's done, and they did it to themselves. They had every opportunity to flip and turn this thing around, and they chose power, self-preservation and power. So they're done. It's my understanding that much of the gold that was ferreted out of the United States has been brought back by special op teams and is in special places waiting to be given back to the people. Now, they would not put them in the Fed or anywhere else like that, because the Fed is still controlled by the cabal. Not for much longer, but it is. I also want you to be aware of something. During John Kennedy's reign as president, he made a deal with Sukarno himself. And if you own a silver certificate that was printed in 1963, 1964, John Kennedy was going to put the US dollar back on a silver gold standard. He had made arrangements in June to have Sukarno ship gold to the United States to pay off the Federal Reserve and kick them the hell out of here. The gold was loaded on the boat. The boat was on its way here. When Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Johnson rerouted the boat to Switzerland, and the gold has not been seen from again. And it was enough to pay off all the debts and put the United States dollar back on a gold standard in 1963. Okay? Now, if you look at a very specific executive order that John Kennedy signed, 1110, I think it is. I can double check that. I don't have it here. But that executive order puts the United States back, abolishes the Federal Reserve and puts it back on a silver gold standard. That executive order has never been rescinded. It still sits in the Federal Register. Okay? So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And as far as any nation on this planet that has a central banking consortium on it that's owned by the Rockefeller and Rothschilds, and guys, I know you're listening, those countries, the only way they're ever going to be free of this cabal is to nationalize those central banks and take back their power, take back their currency, and take back all the wealth of their own nations. The issue with one world government is that we have absolutely no idea how to manage it. We don't even know what it would really genuinely look like. We have been fed what it would look like, and it's the United Nations. Sorry. No, that isn't going to work for anybody. That's not going to work for anybody. That model is already corrupt. For those of you in Europe, just look at the EU. You think that's bad? The European Commission, you think that's bad? Parliament? Oh my God. The UN is twice as bad. So we don't know what that looks like.
That's interesting, right? Sukarno. That would be a Green-Hilton agreement, if I remember correctly. That would be the changing of something. Now, JFK was a devout Catholic. Biden was a devout Catholic. They're the only two devout Catholics that have preceded Trump. That's interesting. So when we look at this going back, we can see some sort of financial top of the tree running this system down. The Lord, all caps, hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. You forgot how to do the things that forge your foundations. They slip away, they disappear, lest ye forget. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. In that day shall Egypt be like unto women, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts, all caps, which he hath determined against it. Which he shaketh over it. Right, so the Lord of hosts shaketh over the land of Egypt and take away its belief of foundation. Stone of Scone. It's not over Australia, is it? It's not under the Lord of hosts, is it? And the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. Every one that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself, because of the counsel of the Lord of hosts, all caps, which he hath determined against it. Here's the true foundations, stone of remembrance. Here's yours, somewhere over the seas. Does it make sense now? That your forefathers laid foundations down so you could be independent, sovereign people under God and have public servants in government instead of being a democracy where you became the servants of a government. That's the basic premise here, in that your foundations were with each other in defense of something. Let's have a look at another video and come back.
Who were really the powerful people? Was it the director of CIA? Was it FBI? Was it the big pharma? Was it military-industrial complex guys that are General Dynamics? Who were the people that are like, oh, I got you. You have, I never thought you had power. Who actually has
the
power?
The most powerful person by far, the president. Power over everybody. Power. The power is enormous.
Most people don't believe that.
It is. There is a sort of a deep state, and a lot of that's people that have been there. And then there's some bad guys, there's some bad people. Then there's a radical left, which I think are more dangerous in many ways than the other countries. I really do. You know, guys like Shifty Adam Schiff and other people, they're bad people. They're sort of sick people, not stupid people either, by the way. Smart people.
Sure.
But they're vicious, but they're very bad for our country.
Is Adam Schiff powerful?
Can you imagine? Well, he made up the Russia hoax.
No,
he and Hillary.
No, what I'm saying is, who is their boss? Who calls them and say, you better or else?
I think it's an amorphous group. It's a group. It's not one person. It's an amorphous group of lunatics. And when they come together, they're pretty bad. But let me just say this. The president has the absolute, if the president is, now Biden doesn't know he's alive, so I don't think I really believe they used him as a vessel, like a vessel in the night.
So, In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan, and swear to the Lord of hosts, all caps, one shall be called the city of destruction. The city of destruction. 5 cities. Would they be capital cities? In that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, all caps, an altar to the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. Now, in Sydney Harbour, outside Government House, in the water, about 20 feet, 30 feet offshore, in the water, is a stone column, a pillar, like an old Parthenon pillar in the water with a flat cap squared off to the cardinal points on top of it. So when you sail into Sydney Harbour and come past Government House, you will have already passed on the point before this stone pillar. When we look at this pillar, it's a pillar of peace. And in old cultures, you would see just piles of rocks on the tops of mountains would divide a people on either side of those rocks. A pillar of peace. And it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts, all caps, in the land of Egypt. For they shall cry unto the Lord, all caps, because of the oppressors. And he shall send them a Saviour, a great one, and he shall deliver them. Stand and deliver. Deliver them. Return them from this administration back underneath to the land they possess. Inheritance. And that inheritance is defined through that line of authority that goes back to those foundations, right? And the Lord, all caps, shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord, all caps, in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation, yea, they shall vow and vow unto the Lord, all caps, and perform it. So we're getting to that day, are we? Where you start to realize that some kind of real world creation or record put you in time and space as a people. Does that start to now correlate that after all these years of playing your law games, defense and being a civilization non-dependent is more important than all the garbage that you play? I guess we can have a look at another video.
Pursuant to the order 4 February 29, 1960, the hour of 12 noon having arrived, the Senate having been in continuous session since yesterday, the Senate will suspend for a prayer by the Senate chaplain.
If that didn't make you curious, well, I can let you know, it made me curious, and I found this. Also, by the way, the links are in my bio.
Interesting. And the Lord, all caps, shall smite Egypt and heal it, and heal it. And they shall return even, in italics, to the Lord, all caps. they shall return even in pairs, 2 by 2, to the Lord, all caps, of hosts, and he shall be entreated of them, and shall heal them, return them back to their former. Would that be what Trump's done by removing Washington, D.C., removing an administrator from the Congress? Interesting thought, that. And heal it, and they shall return even to the Lord, and he shall be entreated of them, and shall heal them. In that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrian shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. That sounds like a high way, knowledge, understanding, comprehension, changing between these administrator back to this sovereign position as a people, not as sovereigns, cloaked in the sovereignty of this foundation. That would mean returning under a layer. And if a highway is being created, it would mean that you have understanding now. What's going on? So that we can, as a people, be a self-determined population instead of relying on moneylender all the time, right? That would be that Kraken Greek story, wouldn't it? Taking out the Kraken. Did Iceland do that? Iceland lights a peace tower. So is that their pillar of peace? Big light going into the sky? It's got the word peace written on the platform at the bottom. Right? It shall be for a sign and for witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt. For they shall cry unto the Lord because of the oppressors, the creditors, the war machine, Zionists, papists. The not you people? Are you dependent on the not you people? That might be the question, rather than pointing the finger at who they are. Are you dependent on the not you people? In that day there shall be a highway. Oh, we're under administration. We're in occupied territory. We might as well be called Palestine. Right, now Assyria. I brought this because I want to have a look. Assyria. The Bible Reader's Encyclopedia and Concordance. It's an old book. I don't know, 1930s. Assyria. Extent of Assyria. From a narrow tract of country bounded to the east and the north by the mountains of Kurdistan and Armenia, to the west by Mesopotamia, and the south by Babylon. Assyria grew until in the heyday of its power, its arms stretched from the Euphrates to the Nile. With the fall of Nineveh in 612 BC, however, its power disappeared. Right, so this is pre-612 BC, according to the scholars, academics, right? Trying to read this literally. I don't think it is. However, we have this land claim, right? And we have this Egypt over the top of the same land. Okay? So it's returning from those that run you back to who you are underneath. Is the basic premise of what's going on here with returning from Egypt to Assyria and having a highway between them, because where's the administrator doing all the trade? So as a people who don't play in the credit world can still walk through the door and trade with your value, can't you? And would that then remove some sort of dependence? Because now you have the ability to pay for it. And if it's your land underneath, what about all those mines, forests, agriculture and fisheries? The use of the fruits? If you return back to all of that, and an administrator has no right through a line of authority in the Lord of Hosts, do you see now? We can pinpoint prove a claim to things outside of what's going on in the current world, where everything's starting to crack, like Humpty Dumpty had a great fall and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't hide behind that Epstein stuff ever again. Interesting. Right, so in that day there shall be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrian shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians, because it's the Assyrians' line of authority being administered by Egypt. Now, if you look at the parliament, there's a massive pyramid over a black Saturnia stone on the floor. Is that Egypt? Is that biblically the money lender? Is that biblically someone that's not in a true line of authority? Might be. Might be. That's a lot of money, right, to play this game. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria. The third. In that day shall the sun, the moon, and the stars be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even, italics, a blessing in the midst of the land. Time and space of a land under occupation. Would this wind you back to forefathers? Would this then define this line of authority in your forefathers? It might. And if that's all put in stone all around the country, is that proof? Is that proof absolute? Is that the proof everyone's been looking for, that we've been sitting on for the last 17, 18 years? Is this the understanding that we should be coming to? Let's have a look at another video. We'll carry on after the break.
Biden just reclassified the Kennedy documents 60 years after his assassination. No one, even peripherally involved, is still alive. So what could possibly be the sources and methods that were supposedly showing the world by declassifying these are so outdated they're irrelevant. They were using disappearing ink in 1963. Why in the world would we be continuing to hide the truth about the Kennedy assassination 60 years later? And of course the answer is obvious, because it implicates not individuals but institutions, and reveals them as complicit in a murder and in the overthrow of the U.S. government. And the U.S. government is complicit in the overthrow of the U.S. government. Wow. And that's the truth. I know that for a fact because I interviewed someone who saw the document.
Chapter 20. In the year that Tartan came unto Ashdod, when Sargon, the king of Assyria sent him and fought against Ashdod and took it, at the same time spake the Lord, all caps, by Isaiah the son of Amoz, saying, Go, and loose thy sackcloth from thy loins, and put off thy shoe from thy foot. And he did so, walking naked and barefoot. Now this is the book of Isaiah. So we get to this line coming down, right? To Isaiah. You, in your land, under occupation, under administration. This is where you start to comprehend. It comes to your time, down a line, lest ye forget it and throw that line away and jump on another one and keep going. Then there's a fracture. And that's the proof. They are an administrator because there is a fracture. And you're not carrying down your line, you jumped over to someone else's line. Do you see now? Go loose the sackcloth from thy loins and put off thy shoe from thy foot, walking naked and barefoot. And the Lord said, like as my servant Isaiah hath walked naked and barefoot 3 years for a sign, and wonder upon Egypt and upon Ethiopia. 3 years to get to this now point in the scripture, under the book of Isaiah, talking about Isaiah, who's done something for the previous 3 years. Now he's walking naked. Now there's a term at law called the naked owner in the usufruct. Right? The naked owner was granted something and has first use of the fruits because they are the beneficiary as a people to those mines, forests, fisheries and agriculture. This is where your farmers and your gun laws and all your other complaints come to this head. Come to this head. Right? So shall the king of Assyria lead away the Egyptians prisoners and the Ethiopians captives, young and old, naked and barefoot, even with their buttocks uncovered, to the shame of Egypt. The Egyptians prisoners, the Ethiopians prisoners. They took the debtors and freed them from their debt shackles and returned them back to the land underneath these corporate takeovers, these administrations of kingdoms, countries. This is where you start to see this isn't about you. This is about countries and nations and admiralties and armies and men being the cities. You being male and female of mankind, forged and founded by the stone of a city. So you start to see this now, slowly after all these years. And they shall be afraid and ashamed of Ethiopia, their expectation, and of Egypt, their glory. And the inhabitant of this isle shall say in that day, Behold, such is our expectation, whither we flee for help to be delivered from the king of Assyria, and how shall we escape? You see the layering, you see freedom from captivity, back to something, in a framework of something, How shall we escape? Mentally, it's the Matthew 6:24. You can't serve two masters. And your nakedness depends upon your line of authority. You see, then if you're fractured from it and it continues down another line for 100 years and that line continues to create wars, is that not significant that your inability to do something was fractured when you jumped over to this timeline? And what if this timeline was administration and came to an end? What happens if this line isn't continuing on when this line collapses out? Let's have a look at another video.
Are you a doctor?
Careful, not a doctor. I'm a brain surgeon. Big difference. What do you guys do?
I'm an accountant.
Oh, that's good. It's not exactly brain surgery, is it?
Lionel, here's your drink. Lionel's a brain surgeon, you know. Yeah, he mentioned it. Oh, Jeff, they keep you late at the Space Centre.
As always.
So, Jeff, how do you earn a crust?
I'm a scientist. I work mainly with rockets. What do you do?
I'm a brain surgeon.
Brain surgery? Not exactly rocket science, is it?
Right, so, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place today, but we've just covered 19 and 20, and we'll go on with chapter 21 tomorrow. The burden of the desert of the sea, as whirlwinds in the south pass through, so it come from the desert, from a terrible land. Terrible. Consumers feeding off everything? Quite possibly be. So this time I got one of these, big crowbar with a head on the end, and I smacked down around all the poles, straightened them up again. Now we have this wonderful fence line, which, if we look over here, we can see, there we go, they've been tied off all the way around, all the slack taken out, and then, I don't know if you can see it, yeah you can, the shadow of the string on the way up. So we start to look at a path, laying out what we want to do with it. So we've got a row, and then another row, and then probably another row, and then I might turn this way. So now all these have been tied down, these can be pulled up and tied off all the way around, but I'm going to wait for some thinner wire to go across the top before I put the bottom on. So if you enjoy this content and are starting to learn something about the state of affairs that's going on around the world because this taught you something, then chuck a donation down in below. We'll give you everything in advance, but ask you to participate by saying thank you. As we learn together, we start to realise that an occupied people don't have to continue to go to war for something for 80 years when they are actually the established. But what do you do in a Palestinian Gaza West Bank situation where no one sticks to 1967 agreed borders and flexes green and blue lines instead? What do you do? That's an aggressor. That's not peace, that's aggression. Aggression by who? For what purpose? Would that be a creditor over a debtor? Would that be control of international trade? Would that be what we've just discussed in the past in relation to oil? Would that be related to the price of your house in what's called abeyance? Land abeyance. So let's have a look at another video before we leave you to it.
Why is it always the Jewish people? We didn't do anything. Like, it wasn't us. Like, we really didn't do anything.
Critics of the Jewish state would say you guys started this war by attacking Iran about 48 hours ago.
No. We did not start. No. The Jewish people, Israel doesn't want to ever do a war. The entire world is really against Iran. I don't think anybody wants them to have nuclear weapons. So Israel's doing the job, and then Israel gets all the damage after it.
Abeyance. A state of suspension or temporary extinction with the expectation of a revival. Land abeyance is the administrator's monopoly board on top of your titles. An expectation of revival when you return from usufruct, when you recognize who you are as a people occupied by administrators who run all of your finances. So we'll leave you with that. Abeyance. Land abeyance. So again, jump down below and throw a donation in, and we'll see you again.
I don't know about that, Ali. I think they definitely have something on him, even if it's only the vast amount of money that they gave him, and he's hoping they might give him again, either for his own campaign or perhaps for one of his children. It's true that it looks very much from time to time that he is thoroughly compromised by them. And then he cuts loose and goes rogue and talks about them and to them in a way that no other American president ever has, at least not in public. So I don't think it's as clear-cut as that. I think there's a struggle inside the American deep state. You might call it a struggle for the ear, for the soul, for the direction of Donald Trump. One section of the deep state and the military-industrial complex want to go one way. Another part of the American population, the ones that have got a vote, millions of them, the blue-collar, MAGA, Steve Bannon types, they're pulling him in a different direction. And he goes one way, and then he goes the other. The final outcome, of course, we'll see in time. But the struggle for Donald Trump is very much a constant struggle.